Welcome back to another video, guys. In this episode, we're going to be assembling my Facebook Marketplace Barra. In the previous video, I said I wasn't going to show you guys the cleaning process. However, there was one particular thing I wanted to show you guys because I thought it was interesting. I did some research on the internet and I polished my own crank because it wasn't too bad. So this is the crank polished. And I've left one so I can show you guys exactly how I did it. So you can see by the marks and stuff, it's got dry oil and it's not too bad. Like, you can just kind of feel some bumpiness to it. So we're going to smooth that out and make it like butter, like this one, just nice and smooth. I would like to note though, if you have any deep scratches where you drag your fingernail across and it's catching real bad, you might not be able to polish it yourself. You might need to get your crank reground. I had one bearing that had one light scratch and I faded it out. However, it's still there. It's not too bad. You can get away with it. If you're just doing a budget build like mine, it should be fine. If you're doing a really high horsepower build, you probably want that crank to be ground down and absolutely perfect. So to polish the crank, you need a few things. First is you need 800 wet and dry sandpaper, 1000 wet and dry sandpaper, and then 1500 wet and dry sandpaper. You also need some metal polish. You're also going to need something to use with the polish. So I just got a shirt like this and then I cut it to size and it seems to be doing a great job. You need either a fat shoelace, or what I've done again is another shirt and I just cut it to size. And this will all make sense in a second once I show you exactly what you got to do with all these things. You also need some WD-40 and some brake cleaner. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this to size. I just got a pair of scissors and I'll show you what we do on the crank. You just want to make it a little bit smaller than the size of the crank journal. You don't have to be crazy accurate at this. It does need to be the right kind of size. If you go way too small, you're going to sand it uneven. So the whole purpose of this is to get a nice even sand across the surface and in a nice circular motion. So I'll go ahead and show you what I do for this. So I'm just gonna roughly hover this over and I think that looks pretty good. And I just check it over, make sure it's not rubbing. If it's grabbing on these sides here, you've got it too big. So that's pretty fine. So yeah, it's got a bit of movement in there. So that's gonna be okay. So first things first is cut that strip, right? I'm gonna set that down. Now I'm just going to note, guys, as well, this is all what I've learned online. There's plenty of videos online on how to do this, and this is just what I've learned, and it's worked for the rest of my crank. Now, so we've got that pretty clean, and I can just feel some, my nails slightly grabbing on these scratches, and the idea is to get those out. So basically what I've seen online is that you do it for 2 minutes, thereabouts. I just time it because I like to do it pretty even. So you want to wet all of this and all the journal. So you just do that and wet sandpaper like that. And then you just wrap it around. You don't want to do this too tight and you don't want to do it too loose. I don't know what was going on here, guys, but every time I picked up the camera, this would not work. But trust me, it is easier than what I show you here. On every other journal, it was perfectly fine. All I did was turn off the camera and try to figure it out, and I just re-wrapped it and, oh, there we go, it stopped again. God damn it. Every time I turn on this damn camera, there we go. I hope you guys can see that, but that's working. So we're gonna put that timer on. So let's have a look. So let's get my brake cleaner, give it a bit of a clean. I mean, look at that, already it's nice and clean. And those scratches, it's not grabbing anymore. Very happy with that. And you can see, look, that's pretty good now. So the next step is to move on to the 1000 grit. Same thing. So the last step, you don't need much of this. So what I do is just put a little dab. That should be enough. And I just pre-spread it around a little bit. Now when it comes to doing the crank, from the videos I watched, and it makes sense, they say don't, clean out all the oil galleries and stuff beforehand, because you're gonna have to clean it anyway after you do all this, because you're gonna get some metal polish in little holes and stuff like that in the oil passages. So do these steps and just clean up the journal before you do this. But in terms of cleaning everything else up, you can do that later on. So with this, obviously you want to get even strokes, but I'm just doing big pulls and just nice and even. Again, not too hard, just enough to spin it around on there. We're just cleaning it up. We're not trying to take away too much material here. And that is done. Now it's really important, you don't want any of this left over on the journal, because it can interfere. So have a look at that, guys. Look how polished that is. Guys, it's been a couple of weeks since I've uploaded, since I've done anything with the motor. Don't know where this video is going to start. I think I already started it, but anyways, I have just received the goods. So let's go ahead and open this and see what we have. All right, so I've unboxed it. So let's go through what I've got. So I've got Hastings piston rings. So these are atomic new dowels for the block, new ARP bolts for the flywheel. The reason I changed them was because some of mine got damaged. So I thought I'll just get new ones, and that way. Oh, and also, yeah, the ones were a little bit damaged, and also I've got the retainer. So you need this specific model number. I don't know if it has it on there, for the retainer kit, because it fits perfectly over these heads. Now I've got a new atomic oil pump. Yes, if any of you guys watched from when I first built the motor, I'm not sure, but basically I already have upgraded oil pump gears, and I'm not going to name names, but I got the oil pump gears from, let's just say they all look the same, and they're probably all from China. So I got those ones, and I actually watched an interesting video on this Facebook page. I can't remember what it's called. The Barra, it's one of the most popular. It's like the Barra build page. But basically, someone posted up there that the issue with the aftermarket ones, other than the 2 or 3 whatever top brands like Atomic, and there's a few other, but basically the middle gear, that can rattle on the, you can have too much play on the shaft, and then you get inconsistent oil pressure. Now, when I was pulling them apart in my motor, and also when I ran it, I actually had issues where it was coming up with a engine light about the cam timing, and that's got involved with the oil pressure, because if you know the cam timing, it needs oil pressure to get it. And it was only happening when I'd start the car briefly and then it'll go away. But like, say if I was hitting a limiter, I would have like an engine light, but then it'll go away. And I believe possibly it was to do with the oil pump gears. I did check all the clearances and they were perfect, so that was the only other thing it could be. And when I pulled apart the motor, some of the bottom end did have some wear, which you shouldn't see from an engine that was quite new. So look, there's a few things it could be, but I just thought I'll go down the safe route. I'll get new pump gears that are known to be good, and I will be testing these on the crankshaft to make sure they don't rattle, and check these clearances as well. But that's why I got these. It was a bit expensive, but you know what? It's cheap insurance. It's worth the money. So that's why I got these. And then I've just got new bearings. And this is probably the most exciting piece. I was gonna open it off camera because I was that excited, but then I was like, nah, I'll let you guys see it with me. So this is a Ross Racing harmonic balancer, gold. So this is a like top of line one. And the reason I got this was because, again, with the crank, And the stupid bolts, I don't want them coming loose again. And Barras have bad harmonics, so I will be running this harmonic balancer so I can protect my motor from the crazy vibrations that the harmonics that the Barra see. So I've got the best of the best, and look at that. That is so pretty. That's so beautiful. This is some good piece of engineering right here. I'll put it down and I'll get it out. Look at this baby. This is mint. So you can get an underdriven one or standard. There's two types of underdriven. I just got the standard one. I just want to run the standard belt. And plus, you know, for now it's a bit of a street car, so I don't want issues with my power steering and stuff at low RPMs in case, because that'll just be a headache. So yeah, we got that. Look at the packaging. It's like got little rings and you gotta, yeah, step by step take them off. But yeah, that's everything, guys. Heading back now. For me, it's gonna be in a couple of days' time where I'm gonna start building this motor. But for you guys, it's gonna be now. So I'll see you guys in a few days. So out here, holding the block. So these are the old balls, and this is what I've done so far. This one, I've just got to put some ATF in there. It's freshly honed, and I'm just cleaning it up at the minute. But these are done. You see I've got some ATF in there, and they've got some nice cross hatching in there, so nice and beautiful. I'm just using one of these. So there's a few different types of ways you can hone it, but those they're called, I think, honing stones or something like that. They're just a bit easier to use. The ones that you get from like Repco and stuff with the 3 arms, you can easily lean one way or the other and actually wear one side of the bore out. Whereas these ones, they kind of like, I don't know how to say it, but they kind of compress in there. So it's you know, if you're a bit uneven, it's not the end of the world. So that's it there. You just gotta push it in and then up and down. I'm not gonna video this because I actually need to do this perfectly, but you basically just go up and down and you just do it for, I do it for about 30 seconds or something, but you'll know if you're doing it yourself. Don't overdo it, just keep going up and down and just clean, check it. If there's still some markings that you want to get rid of, then go again, but just don't think that you got to sit there for a minute going up and down, because most engines just need a light clean. They don't need anything too abrasive. So that's it all honed. Got to be quick because it's getting dark. It's just about to get pitch black, but we are all done. Alright guys, it's a couple of days later, and as you can see, I've got everything laid out right now. I've got the crankshaft here, the motor's over there, that's been cleaned and ready to go. I just need to do a final clean to make sure everything, there's no dust and stuff like that. Just being in a garage, and in general, you always, just before you assemble it, give it a good clean up, so there's no impurities and whatnot. And from what you guys have seen from the other day, or the other clip for you guys, I did order ACL standard bearings. Bit of funny one with that. I was polishing the crank and then I thought I should order standards because I've taken some material off. But turns out I did the measurements after I polished it and I needed HX. So I had to go ahead and order another set. The videos I've watched, obviously I'm not an expert. This is the first time I'm actually building a bottom end. So I guess this video can prove if I can do it, then you guys can do it too. But if I can't do it, then maybe it's best left to the professionals, but we'll see. We'll see. I think I have a slight idea of what I'm doing. I watch enough YouTube videos, but anyway, enough of waffling on. So anyways, I've got the HX bearings because I want some extra clearance in the bottom end because power, more boost, I'm running thicker oil, all these things go into what bearing clearances you want. But I just got simple tools like this, obviously what you need. So this is a piston ring grinder. Honestly, I just got off Temu. You don't need anything too crazy. So I got this off Temu. It's just an adjustable piston ring compressor. And piston ring spreader that you can see I haven't even opened yet. All my measuring tools, these are all off Temu. They're fairly accurate. And from videos I've watched online, people reviewing expensive tools versus these tools, for what we're doing, it's pretty accurate. I was going to rip these bearings out and then show you the heat checks, but honestly, it doesn't matter. I'll just show you guys with this one. I've already torqued these down, so you got to torque them down to spec. And like I said, I've bought a dial ball gauge. I just want to clean up. I did oil them because they've been sitting in the garage and I didn't want, you know, I have lots of random noises in the background because there's construction site, there's bloody birds, there's everything, you name it. I can never film without pure quietness. It's really annoying, but hopefully one day I get a house with less noise. So sorry about the background noises if you hear wildlife and people talking and cars flying by and trucks and anyways. But so I've got to clean this up because I put ATF on it and that can actually make the reading a little bit inaccurate. But I'll clean this up. You don't want to use brake cleaner on these because they actually come with apparently a coating or whatever. So I'm just going to use a bit of wax and grease remover to just clean off this oil that I've had sit because I've had it sitting. And then we'll go ahead and measure this and I'll show you guys exactly how you want to do it, how you get your bearing clearances. So essentially what you want to do, you want to grab this gauge right here and you want to put it on the crank and you just spin this. It's hard to explain the feeling, but you don't want to go too tight because you'll make it flex, which will give a inaccurate reading, but you just do it so it just touches. You can wave it over back and forth and it's not gonna, it'll grip, but it's not gonna like get stuck where you have to rip it off and scratch the journal. You gotta be really careful with the crank journals so you're not gonna put a deep scratch in it because these are a bit sharp. We'll go ahead and do that first. So this is journal number 1. Usually you want to give it a clean up and whatnot, but I've already measured these. I'm just going to do the rest of it off camera. You don't want to go anywhere near the holes because it'll give it inaccurate reading. You want to get it from a couple spots. So you just basically twist this down like that. You want to find obviously the peak of the circle. So, okay, a bit tight there. It's a bit tight. Okay, I think that's it, so I'll just give it a good check. You see how it's kind of gripping and then kind of not? That's sort of borderline. It's good enough for this demonstration. I usually do it a little bit tighter than that. It is a bit loose, and you just want to check around in different you need to check for out of rounds. You need to check in different positions once you get one reading. You don't need to move it, you just got to see if it gets tight, and then you can just check the total out of roundness, but we won't go into all that. So see how that grips, and then it wants to fall off, like if I let go it falls off and it grips. That's probably about perfect measurement for that. You don't need to look at the reading here because all you're going to do is you get your dial ball gauge. I just realized I was actually measuring the conrod journal and I'm measuring the crank journal, so that would be completely wrong. But I've gone ahead and skipped and done all it's the same thing with the dial ball gauge. So I've gone ahead and swap the heads over. So you got different heads and spaces and stuff. Let me open this up. Like that you get with it for obviously different sizes. This is what I've got from Temu. Works perfectly. Some are more accurate than others, and obviously the more expensive ones. I'll try to get this to the focus, and it's not going to focus. So you just go ahead and this is the most important measurement, your vertical clearance. That'll be where you decide what bearings you get. So when you measure it like this, the closer you are to zero, that's the closest you are to the crank journal with the bearing. So as you can see, that's 1. Look, I did a quick measurement of this because just for demonstration purposes, so I could have done it slightly different, and I haven't cleaned this off with oil, so it could be less currents than there actually is. but basically wherever this maxes out at, that's your clearance. So as you can see here, the main end connector oil clearances, BABF territory, blah blah blah. You got 0.025 millimeters to 0.040, so 0.040 millimeters clearance. That's factory. I'm going to go looser than that because this is not a factory build, and I'll be going more clearances and also running thicker oil, so that's why I'm going past this. That's what I was saying before. If I was to do a standard kind of Barra build and I didn't want to drift it, I could just use these bearings, but the fact is that I'm drifting, it's going to see high rev limits, bouncing off limiter, high heat loads, so you want that extra bit of clearance, that oil film, so you don't end up, you know, kissing your bearings to your crank, because that's not going to be a good day. So that's why I'm going a bit looser, but that's what you're kind of looking for. So I guess what I was measuring just before, I was on the lower side, which is good because it's nice and tight tolerances, I guess, for NA, but not good for a high boost build. So I've got both bearings out. So that's one of them, and that's the other. You can see there's two different ones, and that's because for the oil feed, it needs to have the holes to come out, and they've got special tabs to line it up properly. And you've also got to make sure that you seat it in there properly. Make sure these are all clean, oil free. Real Street did say that you can, what he does is he puts ATF in there just to help it slide into place. For measuring, I'm not going to do it, but when I assemble it, I will be doing that. And you just clean up anything that comes off the sides. But he said do not use oil doing that. Alrighty guys, so I have now completed 90% of it, or I've left one, so I'm going to show you guys that process. But before I do that, I just want to go over what I found measuring it. Now, when I was watching Real Street's video, like I said, they're very good at being detailed in how to build motors and stuff. He said always with the bearings by the standard and HX ones, unless obviously you've had to get this board out, and the machine shop are going to tell you what oversized bearings you're going to get. But for any standard kind of ones, he said get both because they're, you know, to get your oil clearances perfect. So this one, full HX, full HX, full HX, full HX, and then for whatever reason this one was a bit looser than the rest. I haven't done this one yet, but this one was a little bit looser, and it's got half of a standard shell here, and then the other half is the HX at the bottom here, and that got me in the clearances that I wanted. So the clearances, this ended up being, with the full HX, it was like 0.08 millimeters, which is a bit too loose. You start to lose a bit of oil pressure from the information that I've gathered. So now with the half standard, it's 0.07 now, or thereabouts. So that's in the range now, which is a bit weird, but yeah, tell me what you guys think. The reason why this one, number 3, was a bit worn than the others. This one's 0.7, that one's 0.8 with half a standard in it. So yeah, I think that's been in range. So we're just gonna pop her in like that, get the locating tab. It's a bit hard with one hand and trying to film, but pop her in, make sure it's all the way seated. That feels good. And the cap, I've got to take the old, this is the old the bearing. So I've got this one popped in, and something to note for you guys, they're all numbered, and they also have, this camera is the worst to get zoomed in properly, but there's an arrow here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's an arrow to say which way it points. But if you're doing it, the easiest way is to start from the back one, because you honestly can't mess this one up. You can't get it back to front, and then you just follow it all the way through like this, numbered down to your 1. So it's very important you don't get these mixed up. So I'm going to bolt this down, torque it down the spec, and I am noting that I do have new bolts, but for this, because they're torque to yield, I'm using the old bolts to do the measurements, because with the new bolts, once you torque them down, that's it, you can't reuse them. So I'm using the old bolts to torque it down and test the clearances, and then the final assembly will be using the new bolts that I have. And I also have new conrod bolts as well, because they're the same deal. So let's go ahead and bolt this down. So what we're gonna hear. Okay, I always just double check them. Yep. So what I did, I went back, remeasured the journal, I reset up the dial ball gauge, and I was mucking around. I put standard ones back in, and then I got a really tight reading. I was like, I must have made a mistake here. And so I've loosened the back off, and I've put the full HX back in on the main cap, and off the same measurement, measured it, and it's come to 0.05. I've double checked the journal and everything, and I must have hit this or something like that to give me the wrong measurement, which brings me to a very important point. Just double check, triple check your work. If you're gonna do this yourself, like, you can never check too much, in my opinion. All right, it's been a while, finally did it, but I think the main problem I was having is, look, the dial ball gauge is pretty accurate, but so mine goes down to a 0.01 of accuracy, but most of the professional stuff goes down from 0.001. So it's a bit more crucial, their stuff. I'm just gonna say what it is at the 0.0 whatever number it is, instead of just keep calling that out. So it's 7.5, well, you guys can see here. Well, yeah, they're all the measurements. So that's number one, and then work your way back. But basically they're all around 0.75. The thrust was 8. I couldn't get it any tight, or if I put a double standard on it, it was way too tight. And then if I put it half, it was 0.06. So I had to settle for 0.08, which isn't too much. I'm not going to really get crank walk and stuff like that. So that's all good. These are all good. So now it's time to do all the conrods. Same sort of process. I won't film that, but we'll get back to the assembly part. This is what we're up to now. I'm just going to do a final clean of the balls. So I'm just going to do them one at a time. So I'm going to clean this one and then measure. So I've just got some ATF in a bag. This is what the guy from Real Street does. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and keep cleaning until this is all looking sweet. All right, so I've gone ahead and removed the top ring. This is piston 1. And so let's open the top ring pack. Now I'm gonna have to lay this out as I do each cylinder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lay them out so I know exactly which one's for what. There's 6. They're all stuck together. I had a mini heart attack then. I'm like, don't tell me I have to wait even longer. That's why this video has taken, it's probably about a month by the time you guys have seen it. Because just ordering parts. I do know why engine shops now take so long. Okay. Anyways, so let's go ahead and chuck this in the motor and we'll see. Let's have a go at putting this in. So that's roughly set in. So I'll get the piston, the second ring still in. And that's roughly, that's about flush. So I'll grab my feeler gauge. If I put 0.58 millimeters in, it barely goes in unless you force it. So it's about in between those two. So this is actually really nerve-wracking because I've never done it before, and you can very much stuff this up. So apparently you just gotta rest up against these stops. I'm figuring this out, guys, so bear with me. Yeah, that's much better, this side. I'll just go ahead and check this, and then I'll get back to you guys and see if I need to take off more. That's cylinder 1, cylinder 2 is done. So I've just been chugging along, like, I'm not gonna bore you guys with just me sitting here grinding. There's only much I can really show you guys. So I'm up to the 3rd cylinder now. And basically, I just keep going. So I'm doing 0.8 millimeter. So a bit over factory, a bit more clearance for higher boost. And you just keep going like this until you get to the right size, I guess. Yeah, just got to be sort of snug in there, not too tight, not too loose. It doesn't matter too much if you go, to be honest, like a little bit over this. Like I'm trying to keep it tight, but if I do go a little bit looser, like it's still, they say loose, people won't know if it's loose. People will know if it's too tight because your motor will just go bang. So that's what I'm following. I'm just going a little bit loose, 0.8 because I'm running higher boost than factory. I'm probably doing it different than most people. I'm just doing all the top rings first, and then I'm going to do the second ring, and the second ring I'm going to do a little bit looser than this one. That's what they say to do. And obviously for the other rings, you don't need to gap them. They just fit in. They're just the oil rings. So when you see me next, I'll have all the top rings done. You know what? I'll probably just get all the rings done, and that way we can just start assembling the pistons and put in the motor. That's the exciting part, is getting this motor put together. And also this number 2 ring does have a dot. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. So that's the top. So we're going to put it in as it's going to be in the block. Now it's time for the fun part. I've got everything laid out, all the rings. I need to still strip these, and then we're going to be doing them one by one, putting them together and then popping them in. I might just put them all together first, all the pistons assembled here, and then we'll go pop them into the engine because I still got to clean it again. So I'll pop you guys up here and we'll do a little time lapse. Well, it's day whatever, I don't even know at this point. It does take such a long time to build this motor, but we're finally here. So last night I did it off camera, but I took the pistons off the conrod and I pressed in the new bolts. So these all got new rod bolts. I just got them from Ford. They're torque to yield. So I pressed them in. I ended up having to use the press, trying to do it on the vise, but it's just never gonna work. So yeah, took the pistons off very carefully, and look, they've been all oiled, so they're really oiled up in there, so that's great. So I've cleaned the block, the bore and stuff off camera, and I've just cleaned out all the main journals. I'm gonna put the bearings back in, and I've laid them out how they were. I just gave this a quick clean, so there's no dust and whatnot on it. So we're going to be putting the bearings in and using some assembly lube and putting this crank in and then putting the pistons in. I'm so bloody excited. And I also forgot to mention, I've got new main cap bolts just from Ford. I didn't look, this is a budget, so I wasn't going to go ARP. The only downside is you can't get the bolt that has the thread on top for the oil pickup anymore, so that's the only bolt I have to reuse. Anyways, without further ado, let's put this crank in so we can get the bloody pistons in. So the guy at Real Street said that he puts a little bit of ATF in the bottom here just to help the bearings slide in exactly where they want to sit. And he said the reason you use ATF is that it can disperse, so it's not going to get stuck. Like if you use oil, it could create a gap underneath, so you don't want that. So this is just to help lubricate and slide it in place so that they sit exactly where they need to sit. please guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It helps me out with the channel and I love hearing you guys' feedback. So, I don't know if you guys can see, but they've got tabs, so the tabs will help line up the bearings. They don't really go in one way, and obviously the ones with the holes is for the bottom. We'll go ahead and put the lube in. So I've just gone ahead and got my Haynes manual to get the tightening sequence. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow that and get this crank in. Oh, this is so exciting. So let's go ahead and chuck some lube on the journals as well. So I've got that nice and lubed up as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just checking double checking all the pins and stuff, they're in the right position and the rings are all okay. And I've taken the bolts back off, I've lubed up the bottom, and we're going to put some engine oil in the cylinders to lubricate it for the break-in. I've just got some 1540, that should be fine. And yeah, I'm going to lubricate the piston ring compressor so that it slips through quite nice and it doesn't score up the rings. So we'll go ahead and start installing. I'd just like to note I did wash my hands before doing this. You gotta wash your hands a lot. Just getting that cylinder ball nice and oily. Alright, here goes nothing. This is the first one. My first time doing it. Gotta be careful, I don't. Walls. Right boys, this is the moment, this is it. Will I prove all these internet warriors, all these naysayers, can a novice build a bottom end? Will I fail or will I succeed? Boys, this ain't looking good. I don't know if I'm gonna go tighter or what, but the bottom ring popped out. I don't want to like force anything. See if I can go tighter with this. Okay, I could get one click tighter. We'll see. Take two. Right boys, this is the moment, this is it. Will I prove all these internet warriors, all these naysayers, can a novice build a bottom end? Will I fail or will I succeed? See if I can press it like this. I might have to pull it back out. I guess that's why they have the really expensive tools. I might restart just to be safe. Take two. So I'm learning this, guys, as you can see. I'm definitely not a professional. Just trying to give it a go. Right boys, this is the moment, this is it. Will I prove all these internet warriors, all these naysayers, can a novice build a bottom end? Will I fail or will I succeed?
I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on!
Okay, you're just going to be a bit stronger with it. Checking the cap's going the right way as well. Now I do have ARP assembly lube, and I'm going to use that for the bolt threads and the bolts themselves. The ARP stuff is meant to be really, really good. Just going to put a little bit around the threads and the bottom of the nut. I've got my torque wrench set for 25 Newton meters. So these are 25 Newton meters and then 90 degrees. So I've got myself a little wheel. I didn't realize it was 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna have to, I'm pretty sure my 13 mil 1/2 inch fits here because it's quite tight in between. If it doesn't, I'll probably have to go to the shops and get a smaller one of these, but we'll try use it for now. So I'll do the first one, and I hold it like this because I found with these torque wrenches, you hold them on a bit of an angle, they kind of rub and don't give you the right reading. Like that. Okay, now it's time for 90 degrees. Well, I don't know what to say, guys, but you know, I was up to the 3rd piston and it got stuck, pushing it down with this, and I went to reset it again because I'm like, okay, I'll just retension it and do it again, because that, look, to be honest, that's not the best tool, but it's cheap and it can get the job done. But anyways, so I went to put the piston out and it's fallen on. I've got a piece of timber underneath the motor. But it fell on that and it fell onto the oil ring, just the retainer for it, and it's bent. Just this one. Yeah, I checked the other rings and they're all fine. It's just this one that's cooked, but unfortunately I can't finish the motor in this video, which is what I hope to do. But what I will do is finish off the rest of the motor and seal it up, and have to order a whole new piston ring set for one ring. Pain in the ass, but shit happens, and when you're learning you make mistakes, so it is what it is. I guess I can sit here and be upset about it, or I can just cop it on the chin and move forward, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep doing the rest of the pistons. Well guys, it's a couple of days later and I finally got the rings, and I was just too excited to wait until the weekend to do it. So after work, I've got it in, I've got it all prepared. Let's just pop it in, and I just want that satisfaction of having the bottom end done. Then that will be the end of this video. Round 2, come on, just pop in. You know you want to be in there. In this clip, I'm trying again to get this piston in. For whatever reason, this one just wouldn't want to go in, and I kept having troubles with it. And I ended up bending another ring, but also scratching the bore. So I had to take out the piston and re-hone the bore. Then I ended up putting the piston back in off camera. I've also forgot in this process to film an outro for this video. So thanks for watching guys, and please subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one where we're going to be assembling the rest of the motor.